Hey guys, let's get more news from Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your like. Pittsburgh Steelers, Kenny Pickett looks forward to new era under Arthur Smith. Kenny Pickett's NFL career hasn't been great even though the Pittsburgh Steelers managed to make the AFC wild card during the 2023 season. His performance during his sophomore campaign has fans wondering if he's the right successor to Ben Roethlisberger. Fortunately for him, Arthur Smith's arrival as the team's offensive coordinator might have given his Pittsburgh Steelers career the needed lease. While there are still questions about the former Atlanta Falcons head coach's ability to lead an NFL offense, he will still provide a fresh offensive scheme that might allow the Pitt standout to thrive. And reports suggest that he's also looking forward to the opportunity that the former Atlanta Falcons head coach will provide him. Former Steeler Patrick Peterson shared during the latest All Things Covered episode that Pickett should be looking forward to playing under Smith. Peterson had this to say about his situation, as reported by Steelers Depot's Ross McCorkle. "I cannot wait to see what the outcome is going to be," Patrick Peterson said. "I'm sure Kenny is very excited to get a fresh start, and not only with Coach Arthur, but with the offensive staff that he's bringing along with him. I think he's going to make it that much better for Kenny moving forward." Peterson went into further detail about how Smith's hiring was targeted with Pickett in mind. "I think Kenny Pickett has the opportunity to really reap the fruits of his labor," Peterson said. "I know Coach Tomlin wanted to get a guy that really fit that Pittsburgh personality, so I think it was a great hire." Pickett experienced a bad regression under Matt Canada's system. In the 12 games he played for the Steelers, he threw for 270 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions before he was benched for Mason Rudolph. Arthur Smith may not be the best offensive mind in the NFL, but he has the credentials and experience to turn Pickett's career around. Pittsburgh Steelers fans can only hope that he will be able to turn Pickett's career around. Patrick Peterson hoping to remain in Pittsburgh. "Question is if the Steelers want me to finish with them." 8-time Pro Bowl cornerback Patrick Peterson has no plans to retire heading into year 14. But is unsure whether his career will continue in Pittsburgh. Peterson said on his All Things Covered podcast that the ball is in the Steelers' court. "The question is if the Steelers want me to finish with them. I signed a 2-year deal for a reason," Peterson told co-host Bryant McFadden. Pittsburgh signed Peterson to a 2-year, $14 million contract last offseason. He's due to count $9.775 million against the salary cap in 2024. With the Steelers able to save $6.85 million by releasing the veteran. The 33-year-old corner believes the versatility and availability he showed in year 1 in Pittsburgh warrants another season. "I feel great. Me and Coach Mike Tomlin had a great conversation after the season," Peterson said. "Obviously, I know that you gotta go through your evaluations in the draft and free agency and things like that. But for me, what I was able to do in year 13, playing different positions, coming into a new environment. I felt my season was very successful, playing 97% of my snaps. Ain't many guys in the league 13 years in the secondary, at least that's playing 97% of their snaps, even young guys. I've shown the ability to be durable. I've shown the ability not only to lead by example, but be accountable. I told Coach Tomlin at the end of the year when we had our exit meeting, I feel great. My mental is in the right place. My body is in the right place. I want to give it another shot." After the season, Tomlin was non-committal on whether Peterson would return. The former first-round pick, who played a decade in Arizona before a 2-year stint in Minnesota and 1 season in Pittsburgh, understands the business aspect of the decision. "What's the plan? That's for another story, because I know that I am older." "I know that," Peterson said, mentioning the salary cap is always a consideration for a player at this stage of his career. Peterson played about as well as you could expect for a 33-year-old corner. He got beat some early, but provided leadership for young players like Joey Porter Jr. Peterson's versatility came in handy as he shifted to safety down the stretch, albeit his tackling could be better from that position. The question for the Steelers, who need to inject youth regardless of Peterson's situation, is whether the cost to keep the veteran is worth the price. For his part, Peterson is willing to move to safety full-time if necessary to stay on the field. He made it clear he doesn't want to be a reserve. "As you saw this year, I'm open to playing wherever, whenever," he said. "Wherever I can be to help the team, I'm all for it. Except for the bench." If the Steelers plan to move on, a transaction should happen in the coming weeks, with Peterson's contract having a $3 million roster bonus due the third day of the new league year. Most clubs are willing to cut loose veterans they don't plan to employ to give them a jump on free agency, a courtesy Peterson certainly earned. Patrick Peterson hints that his time with the Steelers may be over. The Pittsburgh Steelers haven't wasted time making roster cuts. The team released quarterback Mitch Trubisky, offensive tackle Chukwuma Okorafor, and punter Presley Harvin on Monday. More cuts will certainly be coming, one of which may be cornerback Patrick Peterson. Speaking on his podcast All Things Covered with his cousin, and former Steeler Bryant McFadden, Peterson says he wants to keep playing, but it's up to the Steelers if they want to keep him around. "You know I want to keep playing," Peterson said. "The question is if the Steelers want me to finish my career with them." The Steelers signed Peterson to a 2-year deal in 2023 after letting Cam Sutton leave in free agency. He has a $3 million roster bonus due to him in March. Cutting him before then would negate that and save the Steelers money to put towards other potential moves. The Steelers need to add another starting caliber cornerback to play opposite of Joey Porter Jr. Neither Peterson nor Levi Wallace showed enough to be that full-time starter. If Peterson were to stick around, it would be as a slot/safety rotational piece, similar to the role he took on at the end of 2023 after a medley of injuries. The Pittsburgh Steelers' plan to replace cornerback Cameron Sutton with Patrick Peterson didn't quite go according to plan last season. The addition of Patrick Peterson didn't give the Steelers the lockdown cornerback they hoped for, but thankfully the emergence of Joey Porter Jr. really helped. But now the Steelers are faced with an interesting personnel choice. Peterson will turn 34 before the start of the season and has a cap hit of $9.775 million this season. Pittsburgh hasn't given any indication about Peterson's future, but the future Hall of Famer wants to stay. "The question is if the Steelers want me to finish with them," Peterson said during his podcast. "I signed a 2-year deal for a reason. The simplest solution might be to move Peterson to safety. Injuries forced the move last season and he played well. A safety tandem of Peterson and Minkah Fitzpatrick doesn't sound like such a bad idea if the Steelers address cornerback via free agency or the draft." Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Kenny Pickett spoke to reporters last Tuesday and vehemently denied a rumor that he had refused to be Mason Rudolph's immediate backup last Sunday, which ended in a 30-23 victory for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pennsylvania team over the Seattle Seahawks. The victory kept Pittsburgh alive in the playoff race. "I saw reports that I felt were attacking, my character and who I am as a person, and not even getting to a player's point of view," Pickett explained, as shared by Kevin Patra of the NFL website. "There was no talk of me being the backup this week in terms of being second. If I was healthy enough to play, the physios and coaches thought I was well enough to play, I would start and play. If they felt that I wasn't, which they thought I wasn't going to suit up and play." And you fan, what do you think of the Patrick Peterson situation? Leave your opinion in the comments.